Since 1964, the world has witnessed the sustained growth and modernization of Soviet strategic and tactical forces far beyond that needed for simple defense. New tanks, new missiles, and new aircraft have been introduced into their forces in increasing numbers and quality. To meet this potential threat, we must be ever alert and responsive. We must be flexible enough to provide deterrence against conflict at any level. And we must be strong enough to convince any potential attacker that if he strikes first, we will still be able to inflict damage that he cannot accept. We in the Air Force have accepted this challenge to maintain our nation's readiness. The cornerstone of our strategic deterrent is the concept known as Triad, a three-part force that includes the sea-launched ballistic missiles of the Navy, the Air Force's ballistic missiles, and manned bombers. The heavyweight of the bomber force, the B-52, can carry conventional or nuclear bombs, short-range attack missiles, decoy missiles, and it will carry the new air-launched cruise missile. Continually modernized, latest models of the B-52 have both television and infrared scanners to let them see in darkness and bad weather. Augmenting the B-52 fleet is the FB-111, the Air Force's medium strategic bomber. It can fly higher and faster and also can carry both nuclear and conventional weapons. The FB-111 has movable wings, which permit it to fly at slow speeds when extended. Or the pilot can sweep the wings back for high-speed dashes. Terrain-following radar linked to the plane's autopilot guides the FB-111 at extremely low altitudes without the pilot ever touching the controls. In addition to the manned bomber, intercontinental ballistic missiles stand alert at key sites throughout the United States. The Minuteman missile is the backbone of the nation's strategic missile force. 1,000 Minutemen are on alert. More than half of them are the Minuteman III, which can carry up to 3 independently targeted nuclear warheads. 10 Minuteman missiles are controlled by a 2-man crew. 2 different crews must separately receive, verify, and execute a launch order from the National Command Authorities before any missile can be fired. The 54 Titan II missiles are the heavyweights of the Air Force missiles. Each Titan is controlled by a crew of 4. All 4 must coordinate and verify an order to launch before the missile is ever fired. The Minuteman and Titan missiles are the mainstays of today's defense. For the future, the Air Force is looking into an advanced intercontinental ballistic missile called MX. Design studies on the MX have included defense measures concerned with its launching. One way, a shelter system, is a shell game which would force an enemy to guess which shelter contains a missile. Another is a trench system, several miles long, in which the missiles could be moved from place to place. Either of these systems could make it harder to locate and destroy our missiles than is possible with today's fixed locations. Another addition to America's strategic arsenal is the cruise missile. This jet-powered weapon can be carried by bombers, launched from submarines, or fired from land bases. The cruise missile has a small but powerful jet engine. and a guidance system that makes corrections during flight by comparing pre-programmed land surface features with the surface characteristics which the missile sees with its radar. The Department of Defense will conduct flight tests of 2 different types of cruise missiles. The goal of this testing is to allow bombers in the future to fire their weapons from well outside an enemy's air defense area. In today's arsenal, the manned bomber must still be able to deliver its weapons to the target and return to its home base. Mid-air refueling makes this possible. These gas stations in the sky can extend the range of most Air Force planes by thousands of miles. About 600 of these tankers are available, flown by crews of the Strategic Air Command, the Air Force Reserve, and the Air National Guard. For more than 2 decades, they have provided refueling support to our bombers and fighters in all parts of the world. To provide added flexibility and range to the tanker fleet, the Air Force is acquiring a new type of jumbo jet that can serve as both tanker and cargo plane. The new plane will be able to accompany and refuel cargo and fighter planes on long-distance flights and also carry cargo to support combat forces being deployed. Aerial refueling and cargo delivery are vital parts of the readiness posture. Just as important is the element of reconnaissance. For centuries, armies have needed to know what was going on over the next hill. Today, high-flying Air Force planes can look over that hill, or any hill. The U-2 is able to fly at more than 13 miles above the surface of the Earth and can provide photographs that reach from horizon to horizon over its more than 3,000-mile range. The SR-71 is even more spectacular. It flies at more than 3 times the speed of sound and operates more than 15 miles above the Earth. Information gathered by these planes gives us that necessary look over the hill for vital intelligence information. New radars and satellites also look beyond the horizon to warn of attack. Information from all of these sources flows into North American Air Defense Command's command post buried deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado, and the command post of the Strategic Air Command. Above them fly airborne command posts, specially equipped planes that can assume control should either or both of the underground centers be disabled. Newest version of the airborne command post is this modified Boeing 747 designated as an E-4. 3 of these planes are now in service, and a 4th is being modified. With improved communications equipment and staff capacity, the E-4 Advanced Airborne Command Post is programmed to replace the Airborne Command Post EC-135s. While our strategic forces provide us and our allies the nuclear shield and warning against the threat of attack, tactical fighters provide the muscle for our deterrent forces around the world. Newest of the Air Force's fighters is the F-15 Eagle. Its job is to win and keep air superiority, and it's well equipped to do so. A powerful plane, it can take off from very short runways and can accelerate while climbing straight up. The F-15 is designed to defeat enemy aircraft in all types of aerial combat now and in the future. The F-15 carries 2 types of air-to-air missile and a 20-millimeter gun with more than 900 rounds of ammunition. Our forces in Europe supporting NATO have already received their first F-15s. For close-in air support of forces on the ground, we have the rugged A-10, the first modern Air Force airplane ever designed exclusively for this purpose. It can take off and land on short runways. Its firepower comes from a rapid-fire 30-millimeter cannon which can destroy tanks and other armored targets. It also carries a massive load of bombs and both laser and TV-guided missiles. It has armor around the cockpit, backup control systems, and self-sealing fuel tanks, all to keep it safer in a battlefield environment. And to keep it up longer, the A-10 can be refueled in the air. A new fighter on the horizon for the Air Force is the F-16. This is a low-cost air combat fighter that will also be built in Europe for 4 NATO countries. A rare combination of advanced technology, high performance, and low cost. The F-16 is designed to carry out a variety of combat missions, from air superiority to support of ground forces. Command and control over the tactical battlefield is vital, particularly when you're as outnumbered as the NATO forces are in Europe. That is why we have developed an airborne warning and control system aircraft, the E-3A. This airborne watchdog is a special military version of the Boeing 707, topped by a 30-foot rotating disc containing a radar which can detect and track aircraft flying at all altitudes over both land and water. It can also detect and track ships at sea and tanks on the ground. To assist the ground commander, the E-3A will be able to coordinate close air support for his units and scan the air to detect enemy aircraft. It will then be able to direct counteraction against them before they can attack friendly ground or air forces. Used in NATO, one E-3A at a time will be able to cover most of Central Europe. Another vital element of the readiness posture is mobility, the ability to move forces to any spot in the world in a minimum of time. This is airlift. For 10 years, the C-141 has been the Air Force's primary strategic airlift airplane. It can move cargo and troops or serve as an air ambulance. The C-141 flies daily to many areas around the world to support our forces and those of our allies. To extend its present capacity, we are adding over 23 feet to the cargo compartment of the C-141 and also providing an aerial refueling capability. These changes will increase the cargo capacity by 30%, which is equivalent to adding 90 C-141s at a fraction of the cost. The giant of the cargo aircraft, the C-5, is the world's largest airplane. It can fly thousands of miles at more than 500 miles per hour. And it also can be refueled in flight to extend its range and increase its payload. The huge C-5 can easily carry outsized loads, including the largest tanks of the U.S. Army, as well as crated fighter planes that can be quickly converted to operational status. The C-5 and C-141 comprise our strategic airlift force. For tactical movements of troops and cargo, we rely primarily on the C-130. The C-130 can carry up to 92 fully equipped combat troops or more than 20 tons of cargo, which can be landed on unpaved runways in the forward battle area or dropped by parachute if runways are not available. It also can be used as an aerial ambulance. Other C-130s are used by the Air Force for weather reconnaissance, for rescue and recovery, and as aerial gunships. To enhance our operational readiness on a worldwide basis, we conduct many exercises during the year, ranging from single squadron training to full-scale deployments of complete units overseas. In the United States, tactical air exercises held over the Nevada deserts north of Las Vegas provide a realistic air combat environment. Air crews for all types of aircraft come to test their skills against locally based aggressor forces. Flying the F-5E, which closely matches the Russian MiG-21 in size and performance, the aggressors imitate Soviet bloc tactics while they train active and reserve forces in aerial combat techniques. friendly forces fly first-line fighter planes of the Air Force, and their mock combats are recorded by aerial cameras mounted on the planes and by ground-based radars. This provides a record of the crew's successes and failures. Since this realistic training began, thousands of aircrew members have received this graduate work in combat training. We also join up with the Army and Navy in deployment exercises worldwide. Army units are airlifted overseas, demonstrating our ability to assist our NATO allies. In Korea, joint Army, Navy, and Air Force exercises provide valuable readiness training to our allies in that part of the world. These training exercises are not confined to the active duty forces. Members of the Air Force Reserve and the Air National Guard are part of the total force that represents our air strength. Units of the Guard and the Air Force Reserve fly first-line tanker aircraft in support of bombers and stand full-time refueling alert like their active-duty counterparts. Reservists fly regular missions in both C-5 and C-141 transports. And Guard and Reserve units are trained to augment aerial port, rescue and recovery, and medical evacuation units. Reservists help to provide medical care to Air Force people and their families in hospitals all around the world. More than half of the hurricane hunting flights that provide warning of severe weather to the Gulf and Atlantic coasts are flown by reservists. 60% of the air defense fighter squadrons protecting the continental United States are Reserve and Guard units, standing full-time alert in their communities at the direction of the NORAD Command Center in Colorado. To help protect the nation from threats by man and threats by nature, we rely on a sophisticated series of satellites in space. Satellites help warn us of storms and changes in the weather. They warn us of attacks by hostile forces. They speed communications and map our resources. They also provide precise navigation positioning for our ships and planes. But all of the planes, the weapons, and the missiles are only as good as the people behind them. The Air Force people who operate and maintain them, who order and install their parts, and who maintain the buildings and roads and runways from which they operate. While a generation ago, most of this was done by men in uniform, today the task is also shared by women in uniform and a dedicated force of civilian employees. Women are doing jobs every day that would never have been given to them before. They fly airplanes and fix them and guard them. Much of the maintenance repair of our planes is done by civilian work crews. You dedicated men and women of the Air Force, in uniform and out, active duty, Guard, and Reserve, are what, in the final analysis, keep our planes and missiles ready to do their job. Now and for the future, our best assurance of continued peace is the demonstrated readiness to protect ourselves. We demonstrate this readiness every day, with bombers on alert, with missiles ready to fire, with exercises and deployments that keep our skills sharpened, and with the quiet, professional dedication of our people. These are your planes, your missiles, your people, and your Air Force.